I want the left shoulder inside of the right foot. And I want them to actually rock forward to try and feel the weight coming here so that now they start to have a little bit more of this energy rolling back into the circle. Some kids, I will say, if you're in middle school, younger, a weaker kid, they aren't gonna like that position, and that's okay in the beginning. You can back out and just say, hey, we're just gonna start here, and I want you to feel this sort of like rock, and then that's gonna lead into the rest of the throw. Okay, so I know I was talking trash on the glide earlier, which I will continue to do so, but I will admit that I coach a 65-foot glider right now who's been throwing with me since he was in high school. So in high school, he threw just under 45 feet and then became a Division I second team All-American, threw around 62 feet and had his conference record, and then has thrown at the Olympic trials multiple times. Last year he was at nationals, and I would say he's like a top 3 glider in the world right now. So I do still coach the glide, and we do have athletes that do glide. So, and I personally love the glide because I was not a technically minded person. I just wanted to go in and throw as hard as possible. So I'm saying all these things about it, but I still have a unique love for it. And at the end of this, so I'm going to go through the specific positions, okay, of the glide, the main checkpoints that I look at, the same stuff that we talked about, similar to the spin, what each checkpoint, what I'm looking for with the glider, and what you guys can look at with your athletes that would be gliding. And then also give you guys some drills, and then talk about when you could actually transition to the spin, just like what you could do and things along those lines. And I actually added a couple slides just recently, 20 minutes ago, because somebody had asked about reversing. So I want to work on that as well for you guys too. And one final thing along the lines of the glide is that I think, so this is Lucas's PR, I think it's important to think about when we have athletes gliding, we want to keep them in the sport as long as possible. Okay, so the first step is to get a kid to throw, and then the next step is get them to just keep coming back for as long as possible. And I think a lot of times we get lost in, personally I do at least, we want them to spin because they'll throw farther or whatever it might be. But if a kid's not having fun, they might stop coming and they might not throw anymore. And if they don't throw anymore, well, now that's sort of like a red X on your coaching career. At least that's how I take it, right? And I think it's important that if you feel that you're getting to that point with a kid who you're trying to force to spin, go back to the glide, and it's okay. And they'll probably throw pretty far just from the time they spent spinning. They tend to go back into the glide, and they'll throw really well. Also, I did want to mention this. I didn't talk about this earlier, but I think now we're starting to see with women especially how far they're going to be throwing over the next 15 years, because so many high school girls are now spinning, which is cool. Another sort of anti-glide thing, but whatever. Here we go. So if I'm looking at the glide, there's the single support out of the back of the circle, okay? There's the flight phase when you're actually in the air. There's a transition when the right foot hits, right? Then there's double support here, and then going into delivery on the finish. And so breaking that down into like those foot contact periods, I think is really important. And then what are we going to be looking at specifically along those lines? I think when we're even just looking at this image right here, what did we talk about this morning? It was shoulder to hip separation is the #1 correlation to distance on a throw when biomechanists are breaking down a spin, okay, or a throw, or a discus throw. It's the exact same thing with the glide. The more separated I'm here, now if I'm here, there's going to be a little bit of an issue, but if I'm separated with my left shoulder here and my left hip here, okay, I will have more hip to shoulder separation, which will lead to greater rotation of my upper body. And if we're looking at even this picture here with Timmerman, you can see his left shoulder, he's pretty neutral here. His left foot's almost entirely grounded, left hip's forward in front of that that left shoulder, and that's leading to him going 23 meters. Tarinabal also had something to do with that, but he did still have good technique. Now, if we're looking at the back position here, right? Some of the big things that we want to look at this checkpoint in a glider is that if I have a high school kid who's coming in, there's sort of two things that we can do. We can have them start just nice and easy and just barely do a little drop in here, or we can get this dynamic start. And I'm actually going to rewind a little bit too. Is that when I'm talking about the glide, I don't even really like going too far into long, short, or short, long. If you're an old school throws coach, you know what I'm talking about in the sense of a short, long is really what I'm coaching all the time. I'm always coaching. I want that right foot down as fast as possible when I'm referring to the glide. So I did want to clarify that quickly. So going back to this in the back of the circle. I want somebody in the back here, okay? I want the left shoulder inside of the right foot, okay? And I want them to actually rock forward to try and feel the weight coming here so that now they start to have a little bit more of this energy rolling back into the circle, okay? So I like to think left shoulder inside the right foot. The shot here, okay, will be past the right foot, and it might even be outside the right foot here. So that's sort of like that starting position. Now, we want to think about when we're here, dropping. Everything drops here, sort of together. It's like you just come right down, okay, on the drop. Some kids, I will say, if you're in middle school, younger, a weaker kid, they aren't going to like that position, and that's okay in the beginning. You can back out and just say, hey, we're just going to start here, and I want you to feel this sort of like rock, and then that's going to lead into the rest of the throw. So the big thing, I think, left shoulder and shot are neutral. On the elite guys, I want to load to just above 90 degrees of the right knee. I realized, so I took this picture. This is just a terrible screenshot, so I apologize for this. But what I want to see is this 90 degrees here from the torso to the hip, okay? And then I like to keep that left foot controlled and down. And one thing I'll show here too is when we're loading, I want the left foot inside my right. I don't like this sense of crossing here. So one easy cue when you have your high school kids is stay level, stay neutral, left big toe to the right instep. Left big toe to the right instep. Don't let your foot, don't cross. Just immediately say, no, keep the left big toe inside of your right heel. So that way, the whole goal is that they're going as straight as possible. Okay, so think left big toe to the right instep. Now, on the drive, so this would be as they start to drive in here, right? We want to see the hips drop, come off of the heel. Okay, this is a really, really, really hard concept for some shot putters, some high school kids. They will come off of the toe, and fixing the toe push is really, really hard. And I even argue if they are a toe pusher, they probably should be spinning. Because just typically they feel good coming off of that part of their foot, which is going to be the same part that they're coming off of when they pick up the right in the spin. So we want to see drop the hips, come off the heel, extend the left leg. Okay, so if I go back to Lucas's PR, we want that left leg. Now he goes a little deep here, but that left leg, that's a bit. Oh, you can, might be able to see it better just watching Timmerman. That left leg's got to be, as we drop, I like to cue that the left knee actually gets to the middle of the circle, and then you drive from the heel and you extend the left foot down here. Okay, so it's like extend the left foot and push from the right heel. That's sort of like the drive period of the glide. Does anybody have any questions on this so far? Now, the big things, yeah.
The flat back in the back, that's really difficult for like middle school and the strength level.
This, yes, yeah. That's where I think most kids in middle school could just go here, boom, right like that. Now they're at the power. And it's easy for them to feel that. And look, I think the number one, the best glider in my opinion right now, in the US at least, I think he's at Wyoming. He's throwing like mid or low 19 meters. Dude's got really good technique. He starts like that still. He's really, really dynamic, and the other stuff he does in the throw is great. The dynamics start out of the back. It's sort of like a rhythm thing. I think it is better to get the drop and go, but if somebody doesn't like it, it's okay. One big cue that I like is the left foot stays below the left knee. So when you're extending here, I like to think the left foot stays below the left knee, because this left foot being below the left knee will force my right foot to react and to be quicker. And the faster my right foot is, the more separation I'll get here, and the more my center of mass will be moving across the circle in a quicker clip, which will lead to a bigger finish. So left foot stays below the left knee, okay? Push from the heel. Now, we'll see here in this next picture of Lucas a pretty big error. Actually, it's the next one. When Lucas's left knee gets past the middle, that's when his heel finally drops. Now, you'll see here, his hips should have been dropping a little more, and that's been a consistent error. He had a knee issue, and it's like he won't drop as much as he should, but you can see here the left shoulder is not really doing anything. Flat here. And remember, the goal is to get to here as fast as possible without opening that. Okay? Left foot is below the left knee. And the more his hips drop, the easier that becomes to keep the left foot below the knee. So for a middle school kid, the start is you got to come off of your heel, okay? Come off the heel, keep your shoulders here, come off the heel, and try to minimize the left foot crossing your right foot like this. Don't let that happen so much. Think about it. Think about like just backing directly up into the power position. Now, they're going to cross a little. It's going to happen, but like try to minimize it. Okay, so this is where you can see, this is good. This, he's almost going like this way. I would prefer to see this almost like here. So he's a little high out of the back. And what ends up happening here is when you have someone who's pushing high with the hips, the foot tends to come up and they'll do like a little donkey kick. And then this tends to float into the corner. And I would even say, I think if his hips sat back more, we would see a little bit faster there. Does that make sense off of the right? So the first three things, I want to hammer this, is shoulders stay here. High school kid, hey, look at this video. Yo, your shoulder's coming right open. Okay, why? The load with the left foot. No, your left foot's crossing your right heel. We got to keep your left foot neutral. The knees and the quads, I like to think about it's almost like when you see like a bodybuilder flexing, like the quads are like right next to each other. There, go. And then it's off the heel, left foot below the knee. Off the heel, left foot below the knee. Now, here's where you'll see in the transition, Lucas tends to come up a little bit from his hip because of that elevation, and then this buckets a little. I also think he drops his left arm maybe a little much. Look how dirty the gym is. Boy, that's just crazy. It looks like my car. Okay, so I think, I'm going to go into a little bit here more into like the transition would be now when the right hits, okay? So the right foot, if we're watching, we've all got really cool phones, okay? iPhones, Android is great. They're so good, and I think a key point on these kids learning technique is You know, we don't have to have the VHS cassette where I rewind, play in slow motion, and then rewind again. Now we got on our phone, and we can see the right foot should be hitting first. Okay, so it's drive, right foot, left foot. And it's got to happen almost simultaneously. So we want the right foot to come down, and then the left shoulder here comes forward, and that left shoulder we can almost pretend is connected to our right knee. Left shoulder, right knee. Okay, so it's like left shoulder, right knee. Left shoulder, right knee. And then that really starts to get a big stretch across your pecs, which leads into a big finish. So the checkpoint here is his left is still up slightly. He's almost down here. I want the shot, if he dropped the shot, it'd be landing behind his foot. Okay, so he's in a pretty okay position there. Now he's starting to open his left arm. He is starting here. Okay, so he's going to start to open that left. And when this left arm starts to open, that helps the left foot come down. So it's like this left arm opens and that helps the left come down, but the shot's sitting back here, and that linear momentum of the center of mass moving so quickly helps to really start to ignite the finish. So we still want to make sure it's like the checkpoint would be, are you still here as the left foot is up? Are you still staying here? Are you staying there? A lot of kids will do like this. So it's like immediately, no, pretend like your left shoulder doesn't have an arm. And you got to like hold your arm here. And that's like a good feeling that they can use. Okay. I put this picture in for two reasons. One, Valerie is the best female shot putter ever. But she does drop her left here, and she's sort of falling this way. Again, this is just like with Krauser. There's certain things that I think you can pick apart on any thrower. But she was virtually unbeatable for like 8 years. So there's not a lot you would necessarily want to change when someone's doing things successfully as well as she did. So in the delivery here, right foot hits. And the other issue here, her left foot is just about to come down. Okay, so the right foot is down. Left foot's just about to come down. She's starting to open that left arm. And then the right side starts to come through. And that left arm, I think, is what helps pull the athlete forward on the reverse. So the checkpoint here is I like to see, when's the left come down? Is the left arm open? You know, and Lucas's knee comes through, but this has always been his weak point. And I think recently, because of his knee injury out of the back, the higher his hips get, the less his knee comes through. So that's like one thing that we're trying to continuously fix. Now, going back to the back of the circle, this is just like the spin, okay? If we can fix these things out of the back, Lucas does do a pretty good job of keeping that left foot straight. And we want to put a little mark right on the middle of the toe board, and we want our gliders to think, get your left foot to the middle of the toe board. Get the left foot to the middle of the toe board so we can see where is the left landing. If the left foot is too deep, we know out of the back they're probably crossing themselves up with their foot or opening their shoulder. Okay, so this was another throw. This is actually all on the same day. But you can see here, like, we draw some marks here. His left foot's pretty good, maybe a little deep. And you can see the action of his left arm opening, and then his right heel gets to the board. I had to cut this off a little on my Giphy generator. But you can see his right heel, the big cue then, a lot of high school kids will struggle with this, is they struggle with reversing with the right heel, okay? So a lot of high school throwers, they go like this, and then they hop back. So they sort of do a spin reverse. They'll do a spin reverse. I liked even using this as a cue. You go forward, and you try to hit and hold here. And the whole goal, now I like to use a box. I was trying to think if there's a box. I like to get the athlete to feel this. And once they start to feel this here, their glute and through their quad, now they get more comfortable coming through and like hitting and holding here. and getting into that heel. And if we've seen, I should have put this in here, the Timmerman video in '88 when he won the Olympics, he hits it, he goes, holds, and just immediately, starts cheering, right? He knew from hanging like this, it was like the longest hang he ever had. As soon as he hit that, he knows it's out. So for the high school kids, once they get comfortable really reversing forward and not falling back, because that's the issue, is that when you see a glider that does a spin reverse, they're rotating back instead of going all the way out as long as possible. So they might be losing 6 to 8 inches on the finish, which is a lot. So the big goal then is like open that left arm, the left leg is straight and linear here, and go in. And then I also will cue replace the left foot with the right foot. Try, if your weight is transferring properly, you will replace the left foot with the right foot. It is a hard concept. I actually think reverse drills are effective for gliders. Okay, so another thing on this with the reverse, I do like even where you would have an athlete take like a non-reverse and then they just step in and they got to keep it in. I think those, so we call them like a step through to the board. So it'd be like hit it, boom, and hold it. Those are good drills to use on range days. So you can say, hey, we're going to do a step through the board on a range day. We're going to set it up at like 70 to 75% to 85%, and you got to do a full glide, hit it, and then step through. And then they get used to going through, going forward. A forced switch is okay, but that is usually when, like, we'll have a high school kid hit it, and they just do this. And they're slowly learning how to move forward.
When they switch, when they transition from non-reverse into switching, the left arm, do you want it to be long and then pull still, or does that cause them to pull away?
So if I'm gliding, right, and I'm coming here out of the back, right here, and I want my left leg straight, and I go here, I'm landing, I've opened my left arm, and I think a good cue is see the back as you open the left arm so that you get this big stretch. Then as you come forward, this tuck's like here. I've never really coached like a crazy tuck. I'm always sort of like this. And then this shoulder goes out and then boom, right there, come back. So it's like, I would say middle. Some people do feel a good when they tuck in almost like jab. I've never coached that too much. But I think the left arm and feeling this stretch really has a huge impact on the reverse. Because that is then the last part. You go out, but then it does help you come back on it.
Is that the same in the rotation too?
They'll be out more on the rotation, I think. It'll be a bit more out. A little more level. That's a good question, though. Okay, so the big cues that we will use, okay, when we're looking at gliders is that going over everything. And again, this is Michelle Carter beating Valerie Adams at the Olympics in 2016, which this was the freaking coolest shit to watch. Like, beating, like, Valerie Adams is a great human being, one of the greatest people that you could ever meet. But you could just feel Michelle every round getting better. And then when she hit this throw, it was like mayhem, right? So a huge upset. But watching Michelle, yeah, she does cross, her left crosses, her left foot's high. These are all unique things to her, but her upper body is what matters. Look at the left shoulder in the middle. Okay, when her right foot, there's two things. Her right foot, look at how quickly she gets her right foot down. Right foot down, right away. And then what does she do on the reverse? She gets the heel to the board. That left shoulder stays back. Like this is like it's like a really fast freaking standing throw. It's awesome. And I think that's the benefit of the glide, is it's a simple movement and you can just get super excited to throw and just destroy one and win the Olympic title. Now, I do think so like Lucas, when he has a deep left, he tends to reverse where the left leg sort of comes back around a little bit more. When his left leg is better, his reverse will be more in line with the left leg staying back. So those are things that you can look at to see if you've missed the video, or if you've missed the action in the middle, you can see from the reverse where they're coming out of the back. The big thing though, drop to the heels, drop to the heel, keep your shoulders square, drive from the heel, low right foot. That right foot should just, it's like barely comes off the ground. Left drives to the middle, keep the shoulders back, open the left arm, right heel to the board. Honestly, these are like the 8 things I hammer, and that's all I really focus on over and over and over and over again with our high school kids. We do have a high school kid right now throwing like 52 plus with the glide, which is solid. Last year he threw like 43. For some reason he's a good discus thrower and still glides. He throws like 160 and we're like, what are you doing? Why are you still gliding? Okay, so does anybody have any questions on the cues? Yeah. That's a good question. I think that's like a super specific individual thing, in my opinion. I think I've done a season where we tried to get Lucas to land here when he grounds, because he's always sort of pushing like this. Like his right foot will not rotate at all. Timmerman and Al Feuerbach, you can see, were more like this. I think this would be the most that you would see most gliders get to. A pre-turn in the air, I'm not going to provide the best answer. I think it's just like you drive and then you probably get to here, and I think you'd probably be fine. Like I don't know how many degrees that would be. Ask Adrian. Adrian, what do you think about that one?
I always try to turn my right foot 10 o'clock will be off.
Okay, so that would be a little deeper, and I
Rarely would I get there, but that's how it
yeah, and I think that's a good thought. That might also be one of those thoughts like, hey, try and get it to 9, and you get it to 10 or 10:30. And I would even say with that, like, I think that's probably where Michelle was here. Yeah, I would say so. And it's like doing that without letting the left drift too much.
Do you have any cues for how tall they are in the center?
For me, it's always, if they can get that patience off the heel and let the energy, like let it rock back, that should help them be here. And it's like, I always think you're almost looking at like a slightly above a quarter squat. Like just a little more above a quarter squat, and they should feel it in their butt and in their quad quite a bit. I will say too, one thing with Lucas, he's flat, like super flat-footed, so that does alter. He doesn't have the greatest mobility in his ankle, so I think that does contribute to his right side dropping a little in the middle. Yeah. Any other cues or any other questions on the cues? Okay, so this sort of goes along with your question about the middle. We like to do sort of like this drop drill here, where it's just like you're creeping along and you're trying to keep the left foot in place. It's left foot stays here, and it's just like let it rock the whole way. The A drill will go here, just like this, and hold, push to the heel, or push off the heel to the toe. This left to center would be where his left foot is here. It's like getting there and pausing. It's just boom, and like getting comfortable here. Pause and hold in that position. So with like Adrian said, turn to 10 o'clock. Okay, well that's a great drill that you could then think, boom. That was bad by me, but you could do that. Left arm drill, I like, you're here and you're just feeling this open. And it's like, I'm trying to throw the shot with my left arm. Boom, boom, here. Because a lot of kids will be Like, they don't know how to let it be almost slingshotty. They'll reverse and hold. That was the drill on the box. Boom, hold. And then one thing here, small circle drills. Get your kids to pretend they're throwing out like a 5-foot circle, and they just got to go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. And it's like, okay, if they can do this over 1.5 feet, now it just gets longer and longer and longer to where they get comfortable coming off the heel. So I do think that's like, and that's a good warm up too. And I think if they're hammering that, and then they get into practice, they will feel that drop. Any questions on that? Oh, sweet, this does work. Okay. So this is Lucas just going through like, that's like a drill there. That's a sort of crap reverse. Decent. It's okay. Go decent left foot, maybe a little deep. Not bad on the reverse. So this is a drill throw day. A little high with his chest. Terrible reverse on that one. That's him being lazy. That's probably a little long on that one. That one he was pretty happy about. There's probably swearing or something going on right now. Yeah. But just going through this series and feeling it out is good. Now there, his left foot came up a little bit, so it's like, yo, be more patient on the drop. Not bad there on that reverse. That reverse was reminiscent, that reminds me of Timmerman's reverse from the '88 Olympics. A little lazy in his left shoulder, so his left shoulder open and he's a little high with his hip there. His hips could still drop more. I'm trying to think. I think he does get into some full. So the big goal there is like holding his left shoulder, is making sure his left shoulder is controlled. Now he's talking trash, so he'll execute this well. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like that was a good drill. And that's the whole thing too, is like getting him to get comfortable with off the heel to the toe. Heel, toe, quick, quick, quick. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Oops. Okay, so when to spin. This is a couple questions that we had is like, when should you get a glider to actually think about spinning? Okay, I like to, like if you have a kid, take a standing throw and you just say to them, listen, I want your right leg to go around your left. I want your left leg to go around the right. I want your right to go around the left. And they can hit their stand or hit or slightly beat their stand from that real simple just step through, go, then I think it's time to move from the glide to the spin. Okay, and I even will cue them like, look, get to where you're at with the glide. It's the same thing. The spin's the same. It's just, you might be a little more narrow in the stand. I want you to get here and just hit it. And typically, if you can get them to feel that glide position, they'll hit something decent, and then you'll see that they at least equal their standing throw, if not a little bit further. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is, then you can say, within 4 weeks, if they beat their glide, you just keep spinning, right? Now, if we're 8 weeks out, then I start to think maybe we should reconsider 3 months. You know, if they haven't beaten their glide yet, well, then it's a little bit more iffy, because this goes back to the discussion of keeping the kid in the sport. Now, I know I shared my example with Michael, who throws discus well. If they throw discus, I think they should spin. Like, I deep down inside think that you will just get way better at discus if you spin in the shot. And also, if you ask a kid and they say, I want to throw till I'm, a senior in college, just learn the spin, okay? Now, with that being said, I've talked about the kid at Wyoming that's probably going to be an All-American, and he's still gliding. So there's definitely cases that it's okay, but I'm almost always leaning towards just learn to spin and teach it well. Does anybody have any specific cases with that? Because I had a couple people ask about this, especially with younger kids.
We're going from glide to spin. I started years ago, and they thought I was nuts, but I started doing like wheels with my gliders. Mm-hmm. What I was going after was getting that power foot turning and climbing. All right. And sometimes it worked out, and I started doing step backs where they step back and reach for the toe board and turn and climb.
Yeah.
And I had a kid throw almost 60 feet out of a step back.
Yeah, so then.
Pretty dynamic individual.
Yeah.
And I also had her daughter, her junior year, wanted to rotate. Kaylee, that's ugly, but okay. So barely made the finals, and finally said, because I always have them at the end of practice, if they're rotators, let's do a couple glides. Just watch it, for fun, for my entertainment.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to glide this one. She bought into it, and she went from 9th to 2nd on one throw, because that power foot come around, she climbed over.
Way quicker through with the hip, yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, the guys that know me, they know that I have my gliders. And every once in a while, I'll have the rotators glide too. Just hey, they're doing it.
Yeah, then it's like a.
But it's kind of a fun thing too.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that one of your weaknesses is your power foot and block arm. That really makes it turn and climb. The low foot. I call it screwing up.
Yeah.
Not screw up. Low foot screw up
and finish them. Yeah. I would say too that's like it's a sneaky way to get them comfortable rotating, and you might see them doing that, and then all of a sudden they are dropping bombs, and if they don't, it's not going to hurt them because they're still taking a throw.
See, the rotation that day wasn't good.
Right, yeah.
I said, well, Kaylee, we got when you come out, first one was the first one in the final, said the line, and it just went.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all the competitors are like,
I kind of got her too fired up, and then it got ugly again because I said, just throw it out of the park,
Yeah.
The technique breaks down and all that.
You're right. Yeah. Anybody else have questions on this specifically? Yeah.
Well, I have one more question about the sinking back. Would you say if a kid is struggling to get his right foot underneath them in the center, maybe it's because they're not rocking back far enough?
Yes. Yeah. And like, if they sit more and think push from the heel, it's like, and it's like the knee extends, so it's quad, right? So it's like, okay, get them used to this, and a drill that we'll do is we'll put a band around a foot, right? So put a band like right around the ankle, and they're here, and it's boom, and they just got to hold like that. And now if you're pairing that with the dropping drill and then with the banded ankle drill, they'll feel the quad and then into the groin too. So it's like quad, groin. And then you got to try and get the feeling to transfer to the full. So I would say yes, more patient on the drop, but then also making sure they're active on the push into that groin action. I really think this groin action is real similar to the feeling that spinners feel when they sweep. And it's like it's another type of way to connect it. If they throw discus, it's like, yo, when you cut that right really hard, try and feel that in the glide. And that can help as well. Yeah, that's a good question. Somebody asked me earlier, yeah.
Were you talking about trying to get through the middle of the circle?
Yeah, did I answer your question or did I?
Yeah, you did. You said the sink can be more patient as they go back and not getting off of this.
We tried in our Sunday throws group. I took a 2x8, treated 2x8, and we got a raised ring where we I stuck it in the back, and I had them put the ball or foot on it so your toes
Yes.
hang out.
Yeah.
Then I had him driving off that, and it was like, and he was unbelievable on it. Boom, boom, boom. Then you take it away, you know, they put it back.
And then you got to rock to that position. Yeah.
Right.
I would do that, and I would take away the board. Okay, so let's say you take away the board, and then they have to do a throw like this, as I knock the projector over, like where the toe is up.
Especially for the middle schoolers, it made it's like all of a sudden they're getting through the middle.
Yeah, because then if they have the board there, and then you remove the board, but it's like, no, you still have to have the toe up. Now they're starting to feel what that is like, and then they will sink more.
It's kind of like crazy stuff, you know. I'm in my 70s now, you know, and I still think about how can I make this better?
Yeah.
Dude, as long as it's fundamentally sound.
Yeah, as long as it's following the principles.
And yeah, and I love cues. I ask the kids all the time, okay, this is how I'm explaining it to you.
What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think? You know, what would work for you?
Yeah.
And I can tell you some stuff. I can't do it now because it's pretty funny. You know, that their cue words or their hand signal.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll start laughing in the back of the ring and then relax them. And boom.
And then it goes because they're more loose then.
Because I've always been looking for ask questions.
Yeah.
What do you call it? What do you do?
I think that's the big thing too. In the glide specifically, it's like if we can just let them relax and be patient with the shoulder. Honestly, in most cases, it's like, yo, just be patient with your left shoulder and you'll be fine. Somebody did ask about switching a bigger kid to the spin or glide. And that was one thing I wanted to share where they were mentioning this kid's like 9th grade and he weighs 315. And he's struggling. He sort of does a shuffle in the glide. And I think that's another issue where sometimes bigger kids will actually be better at spinning because they can just sort of like step through and they're more comfortable stepping through than going backwards. So that's like another aspect that I would just say, like, keep that in mind as you're working through this.
You got me on a roll now.
Yeah.
I've had bigger girls that could not get through the center on the glide. So I started rotating them and had them do walking throws where they're actually making contact. And what it did was it got them all the way through to the toe board, extended over, and throws them farther.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kind of gradually see what they could do. But at least they were getting extended, climbed over their left, get up over the toe board and throw.
And hitting it.
Because it was easier just, you know, a walking throw is like when you got a wet ring and practice doing walking throws and they're in good positions. So I had the bigger girls doing it, and they really liked it because they put 2-3 feet on their throw right now because they're getting to the toe board extended over.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, it was slow,
But they'll still feel it better.
and it made them happy because they got better and they're able to start scoring points in that.
Yeah.
Because of that difference. And you could like I said, we work everything.
Does anybody else? Adrian.
I'd like to add to Coach's question. For me as a glider, I was a dynamic glider, non-reverser, and I had a really wild wrap, so I was very unusual anyway. But for me, I could have a great push out of that, but if I went into glide, I have that sliding thought, I just kind of slide and shift into the front.
Right.
So my cues switched to hard push, hard pull. So I had push hard off my heel, but I'm trying to actively pull my right into my chest to get down to that 10 o'clock position. So if I had it's just push pull. That was always what I had in my mind. Push hard, pull on, push hard, pull the chest, so that it had a nice equal.
Pull with the right foot.
Push hard off the heel, but I'm trying to pull my right knee
Okay, okay.
to my chest, so it's fast.
Yeah.
Right, left.
But that rotates. So that would be the give and the take. It's like, okay, if you notice, this is how I would play. I would go, if you notice your right turns better and you throw farther, keep doing that. Now, if I notice your right foot gets slightly slower because it gets a little higher, then don't do that. And that's how I play the game, is like in that case, it's like, okay, that's working, just keep doing that. Yeah, and just keep rolling with that. I think that's good. That's really good. I think that's the whole thing too. It's like troubleshooting those things. Like some concepts in the glide, I mean, in throwing in general, some of them work really well for some people, some of them don't. That's probably what I should be cueing Lucas on. You know, I've been hammering like I want his foot lower and quicker, but then he does struggle to get his knee through.
And you got a really great strong push.
Right, but then it's just sort of, yeah, and then he sort of like drifts like this, you know. So it's always just like this game back and forth. Yeah. Anybody else with the glide spin? Yeah.
Well, I talked to you earlier how like everybody's starting, changing the start out of the back a little bit, playing around with it, and having like the right foot offset behind them a little bit. What's your thought on that?
For the spin. So you're saying with the spin, so if I'm spinning and I'm facing this way and I turn like this. Yeah, almost if anybody watches like Tom Walsh does this, trying to think top of my head right now, I would say he would be the most prevalent. Fabry a little bit. Fabry's almost like this. I think it's interesting. So the theory is that, at least some of the theory I've heard is that as I push, I'll push harder and I'll be going faster when I get to this point, to the left side. So like if I'm throwing out there, that right foot being deeper makes me push more aggressively so that I am now more loaded on my left and I'm going faster as I enter. From what I've understood, that's not actually what is happening. So I think a lot of it is a timing thing. I think some people will say, oh, well, you get more range of motion, but there's still a give and a take there. You might have more range of motion, but you can't control it. Last year at Worlds, Fabry, who tends to, if we're throwing this way, Fabry starts almost like this. Okay, so he goes here, and then he lands at the front, and he's fouling like 2250 on at least 2 throws. But they're out the right sector. And I'm sort of looking at it like, dude, if he just brings his foot forward more, he might get this left at least into the sector a little. Yes.
People that are just like splitting the ring with like left foot right in
Yeah. So then it would be like if I'm throwing that way, they might come over this way here. Now, I'm telling you that I don't think it's that. Here's the thought experiment, right? Because Krauser has played around with the step. Yeah, he's done 3 or 4 variations, which is awesome. The fact that we have the greatest of all time trying these things out is great. But would the world record be if he just stayed the same? If he just set the traditional footwork, would he? I don't know. He probably would throw 2360 as well, 2370. If not, he might actually have the world record be further. So I don't think we've seen like that it's that much of a difference. And I would even use the case of this year too, the Mexican shot putter Munoz. He's short. He's 5'11", very traditional style spin technique. He does a great job getting very wide. He gets off of his left pretty well. He is a very traditional spin technique and throws all but 22 plus, right? And he got second at Worlds. So I don't think we've seen that it's one way or the other. With that also being said, my son steps in, right? He steps in and goes. Now, he has had like 3 or 4 different techniques. Actually, when I was here last, he was doing, I don't know if anyone remembers, he was doing the cyclone. And so he would start, if he was throwing this way, he would start like this and do a heel turn, and then he would push wide and go. And it was this like East German technique that we just saw. I was like, I'm going to see if Lincoln can do this for a year. And he threw okay. But I think the reason why he likes stepping now is because he did the cyclone. I don't think it actually increases his speed at all. It might help him get on his right side a little more, maybe, because he does do that pretty well. But he might be able to do that with the traditional spin technique too.
Well, that was my whole, that's kind of why I was just asking your opinion, because you sit there, is there any benefit, or is there, you just traditionally stand, get over your left, get out?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple ways to play it too, because I also think high school kids like to be different. So you might have a kid that is a pain in your butt at practice, and you're like, yo, what if we do this? And you show them that step back or whatever, And they just want to do it just so that they can be different from everybody else. And now all of a sudden you get a little more buy-in from that individual.
Like how, you remember Julian?
Ruck, yeah, Ruck would do almost like a similar cyclone style almost. Yeah.
I experimented a little bit with the cyclone.
Okay.
But instead of heel turning, I still kept him on his toe
Yeah.
and took his disc from 115 to ending the season 137.
So yeah. And
He just bought so much more into it and just loved doing it. And I was like, if you're happy, you're happy.
and that's basically what Ruck was doing. Julian Ruck back in the day in like 2014, 2015 was almost a cyclone. So yeah, that's good. Yeah. So I think there's that point where it's like, I don't think that there's any evidence that that is better to be step back or not. But if they get on their left better and they enter better, then fine, do it, yeah.
Coach, you know the hardest thing to coach is that last 9 inches.
yeah. Yep, I think it,
Technique with that.
yeah, the brain is the hardest thing to coach. Okay, anybody else? Thank you guys, and hopefully you learned something about the, yep.
I have a question for Adrian. In high school, she was a glider. College with Judd Logan, you were glide. And then professionally went on to step. What made you and your coach then decide that you needed to go back to glide and do all these trials?
At that time, I was throwing consistently over like high 17 meters, close to 18 meters in the glide. And I moved to Arizona to train with John Dane and his dad. So best rotators are out there, right? And we wanted to experiment with the rotation because I was at the point in my career where I was now like 17 meters and it wasn't quite good enough. So I had to take that step to learn to rotate. So I spent a lot of time with John and his dad, and it improved my discus so well.
What did you throw discus in high school?
I did 152. And then
Did you non-reverse?
no, I did a weird little twirly thing. It wasn't very good.
It was like the left foot reverse. Yeah.
But in college, I went to 181, and then
You threw 181? Yo!
and then I threw 90 after taking John and dad. So maybe I was supposed to do this before. I don't know if I was chocolate.
Yeah.
So I did manage to be like mid 16 years in the rotation, but just it wasn't clicking. And so I went back to the glide and went back, closer to 17, and then that's where I did. So that was a great experience to learn rotation. Again, it really translated to my discus, and it helped me become a better coach.
Yeah. I think that too is, I think your story is I mean, the numbers are not normal. Your distances are not normal. But the story is like, I think a lot of people have that where they glide for so long. I basically had the same thing. Discus gets better from it, but then I still just wanted to glide. I think the thing that I argue is like a lot of our throwers now, the middle school kids, like they don't ever learn the glide. So they don't even know what the glide is. And it's sad because I'm like, they're not learning the glide. But I would rather them do like a half turn than learn the glide because they always then have this itch to go back. When I think if they buy full, and I'm not saying that you didn't buy in, I guarantee you bought in. I just make that plea like that kids can learn it a little bit earlier. And if we don't teach them the glide, they'll never want to go back to it. Although my son still will say, I want to try and glide. Like, no, you're not gliding. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.